will be moving a motion on the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Sustainable Waste Management Bill, being a bill from the National Assembly, Bill number 22 of 2021. The House will then move to the Committee of the Whole, where the Committee of the Whole will be considering the Copyright Amendment Bill, a bill by the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Matters Finance and National Planning. The Coffee Bill, Bill number 22 of 2020, a bill originating from the Senate, is also a bill lined up for debate during this afternoon session. The National Government Constituencies Development Fund, Bill number 4 of 2021 by the Chairperson, Committee on National Government Constituencies Development Fund. The Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill by the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Matters Finance and Planning, is also a bill that members will be making their input on, and so is the Advocates Amendment Bill, a bill by the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Matters Justice and Legal Affairs. The Chairperson Select Committee on Matters National Government Constituencies Development Fund will be moving a motion on the report on stalled or incomplete projects initiated through the NCDF but failing under the county or falling under the county government functions. That the House adopts the report of the Select Committee on the National Government Constituencies Development Fund on stalled or incomplete projects initiated by NGCDF, but that are falling under the county government functions. And that particular report was laid on the table of the House on the August 17th, 2021. The Huduma Bill is also a bill that members of Parliament will this afternoon be making their input on. And another bill scheduled for debate is the Children Bill, Bill number 38 of 2021 by the Leader of Majority. Member for Kathiani, Honorable Robert Mbui, will pursuant to Standing Orders 42A subsection 5, field questions before the departmental committees. And the member for Kathiani will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure and Housing to explain the delays in upgrading the Kenol, Mitaboni and Kathiani as well as Kaani Road to bitumen standards, yet funds for the same were allocated. The MP will also be seeking to understand the status of the contract for the said road, and this is considering the completion date has since lapsed, yet the project is still incomplete. And finally, the measures has put in place to ensure speedy completion of the said road, and could the Cabinet Secretary provide the expected completion timelines? Questions by Honorable MP for Kathiani, Honorable Robert Mbui, will be answered before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Justin Muturi, is in the chamber, and the business of the House will commence any minute from now. My name is Gladys Mungai. I'm now handing you over for the live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing. Good afternoon.
Na tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi ututazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Twakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na tujalie tuyatende na kuyafikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa ajili ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu, na wale ambao haja zao umazikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amina. Very clear that we don't have quorum. Can you ring the quorum bell?
The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Justin Muturi, has just ordered for the quorum bell, and this is to allow for more minutes for members of Parliament to access the chambers this afternoon, for it to be able to get the requisite numbers to proceed with its business this afternoon. The member for Kwale County, Honorable Zuleka Hassan, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Planning to explain the status regarding payment of pensions to beneficiaries of the late Mr. Chapo Zuma Mbuzi, who died on the 17th of April 2010 while working at the Ministry of Health as a medical personnel at the Shimolatewa prison in Mombasa County. And could the Cabinet Secretary also state when the ministry intends to remit the dues to the family of the deceased? Questions by Honorable Member for Kwale County, Honorable Zuleka Hassan, will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Finance and Matters National Planning. And the best Member of Parliament, Honorable Robert Tupukose, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Lands to explain the circumstances that led to the formation and also gazettement of a task force by Trans Nzoia County Government. And this task force was to look into issues affecting public land and also confirm that the action was carried out in accordance with the provisions of the National Land Commission Act. Honorable Pukose will also be asking the Cabinet Secretary to explain the criteria used in the appointment of members into the said task force and confirm that factors including regional, gender, and persons with disability were taken into account as required by the 2010 Constitution. And finally, whether effective public participation was conducted during the formulation of the said task force. Questions by Honorable Member for Endebess will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Matters Lands. The MP for Tiati, Honorable William Kamket, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Education to provide a list of all the primary and secondary schools that have received funding from the ministry. And this is for purposes of building more classrooms to accommodate more learners and ensure that institutions observe COVID-19 pandemic protocols on matters social distancing, indicating the amount received by each school and explain how the said monies have been utilized. Question by Honorable William Kamket will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Matters Education and Research. A nominated Member of Parliament, Wilson Sosion, will be seeking a statement, and this is in regards to irregular post-retirement engagement of certain head teachers by the Teacher Service Commission. Honorable Omar Malim Hassan, the MP for Mandera East, will also be making a statement, and this is on the occupation of private land security personnel in Barwako location in Mandera East constituency. And that particular statement will be forwarded to the Departmental Committee on Matters Administration and National Security. Nominated Member of Parliament, Honorable David Ole Sankok, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government to provide specific details of the parcel of land located in Laikipia County. The quorum has been achieved, and I'm now handing over for the live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing.
Okay, honorable members, now, Honorable Kahai, why are you walking out just when you have realized quorum? Now, honorable members, the member for Kamukunji, your count is for intervention. I don't know whether you wanted to draw my attention to the lack of quorum, because but is there something that an intervention? We have not started. Oh, okay. I thought it's the usual early bird, but you are okay. You are okay on the normal list. No, he's still the number one on the list, the other list. Let's start.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Leader of majority or majority whip, or whoever it is.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022, afternoon sitting. Reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following constituencies for the year ended 30th June 2020 and the certificates therein. 1, Wundanyi. 2, Kiamba. 3, Rabai. 4, Juja. 5, Laikipia North. 6, Ruiru. 7, Kiminini. 8, Garsen. 9, Galole. 10, North Imenti. 11, Kipkelion East. 12, Hamisi. 13, Kisumu East. 14, Igembe Central. 15, Chuka Ikambangombe. 16, Gishugu. 17, Dagoretti South. 18, Nyeri Town. 19, Turkana North. 20, Keyo South. 21, Kigumo. 22, Kandara. 23, Tarbo. 24, Limuru. 25, Kapseret. 26, Kabete. 27, Malindi. 28, Msambweni. 29, Kiharu. 30, Vihiga. 31, Nyali. 32, Soi. 33, Likoni. 34, Kikuyu. 35, Saku. 36, Maara. 37, Kabondo Kaspul. 38, Runyenjes. 39, Kasipul. 40, Kuria West. 41, Tigania East. 42, Nyando. 43, Isiolo North. 44, Manyata. 45, Ainamoi. 46, Emuhaya. 47, Nandi Hills. 48, Laikipia West. 49, Kajiado South. 50, Tetu. 51, Kilifi South. 52, Keyo South. 53, Kieni. 54, Githunguri. 55, Maragua. 56, Taveta. 57, Thika Town. 58, Gatanga. 59, Turkana Central. 60, Moiben. 61, Keses. 62, Jomvu. 63, Mukurweini. 64, Turkana South. 65, Othaya. 66, Emgwen. 67, Kapenguria. 68, Matate. And 69, Kinango. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next, the Chairman, Committee on Delegated Legislation.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, February 23, 2022. Report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Irrigation General Regulations 2021. Legal notice number 199 of 2021. Thank you.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Kamket.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Irrigation General Regulations 2021, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, February 23, 2022, and pursuant to provisions of Section 34(2) of the Irrigation Act 2019, approves the Irrigation General Regulations 2021, published as legal notice number 199 of 2021. Thank you.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
First segment, questions. First question by the member for Kadhiani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 26 of 2022 to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development, and Public Works. Mr. Speaker, first, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the delays in the upgrading of the Keno, Mitaboni, Ngoleni, Kadhiani, Kaute, Idhaeni, Mbuni, Kaani Road to bitumen standards, yet funds for the same were allocated? Number 2, Mr. Speaker, what is the status of the contract for the said road, considering that completion date has since lapsed, yet the project is incomplete? And the third part of the question, Mr. Speaker, is what measures has the ministry put in place to ensure speedy completion of the said road? And could the Cabinet Secretary provide the expected completion timelines? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. The next question is by the member for Kwale County, the Honorable Suleika Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 043/2022 to the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Planning. 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the status regarding payment of pension to the beneficiaries of the late Mr. Chapo Zuma Mbuzi of ID number 1602012 and staff number APN/PC 15112, who died on 17th of April 2010 while working at the Ministry of Health as a medical personnel at the Shimo Latewa prison in Mombasa County. 2, could the Cabinet Secretary also state when the ministry intends to remit the dues to the family of the deceased?
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. Next question by the member for Mwatate, Honorable Mwadime. Member for Mwatate, the Honorable Andrew Mwandime. Next question by the member for Endebess.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I ask question number 051 of 2022 to the Cabinet Secretary for Lands and Physical Planning. 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the circumstances that led to the formation and cassetment of a task force by Trans Nzoia County Government to look into issues affecting public land and confirm that the action was carried out in accordance with the provisions of the National Land Commission Act? 2, could the Cabinet Secretary explain also the criteria used in the appointment of members into the said task force and confirm that factors including regional, gender, and persons living with disabilities were taken into account as required by the Constitution? 3, could the Cabinet Secretary clarify whether effective public participation was conducted during the formation of the said task force? And 4, lastly, could the Cabinet Secretary explain whether the procedure and the conditions set out in the National Land Commission Act for formation of such a task force were adhered to? And if not, could the national government consider nullifying the exercise with a view to ensuring that the correct procedure and criteria is followed by the relevant government institutions in formulation of future task forces? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Lands. The next question is by the member for Tiati, Honorable Kamket. A question.
I have no idea.
You have no idea? Then we just...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to ask the Cabinet Secretary for Education the following question. Question number 52 of 2022. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide a list of all the primary and secondary schools that have received funding from the Ministry for purposes of building more classrooms to accommodate more learners and ensure institutions observe COVID-19 pandemic protocols on social distancing, indicating the amount received by each institution and explain how the said monies have been utilized? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Do you mean all primary and secondary schools in the country, or?
No, in my constituency.
You know, this question, if it goes like this, if I was a Cabinet Secretary, I would give you an answer that you would laugh, because it's very fake.
Yeah.
Is it targeting Tiati constituency or Baringo County or some other region?
Mr. Speaker, I actually drafted this question at the beginning as one question with another one which I had asked earlier. It is the office of the clerk that decided to divide it into two. But this is a question for and on behalf of the people of Tiati constituency. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. It will be replied to before the Committee on Education and Research. Last question by the nominated member, Honorable David Sankok.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And this question, I've brought it again because it expired in the last session. So you instructed that I should bring it back again, and I hope I will be answered accordingly, Honorable Speaker.
But it took too long.
Yes.
To resubmit it.
No, I just decided to submit it at this time.
Okay.
Yes. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask question number 053 of 2022 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide specific details of the parcel of land located in Laikipia County, which he claimed is owned by the Deputy President during his appearance before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security on 1st September 2021, including the land reference number or numbers, size, date of acquisition, and the previous ownership? Honorable Speaker, this is to cure the bad manners, political bad manners that you talked about, so that they don't come and lie on the Hansard. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, the question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. For the second time, member for Mwatate. For the second time, member for Mwatate, the Honorable Andrew Mwandime. Well, the member is absent, don't desire to be present. The question is dropped. Next segment, Part A, requests for statements. First is by the Honorable Sosion.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to request for a statement on irregular post-retirement engagement of certain head teachers and principals by the Teacher Service Commission. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Education and Research regarding irregular post-retirement engagement of certain head teachers by the Teacher Service Commission. Honorable Speaker, according to Section 79(1)(a) of the Public Service Commission Act, a public officer may retire from the public service on attainment of the mandatory retirement age as may be prescribed by regulations. Regulation 70 of the Public Service Commission Regulations 2020 prescribes the mandatory retirement age in the public service as being 60 years or 65 for persons with disability. Honorable Speaker, Section 81(a) and (b) unequivocally provides that where public officers attain the mandatory retirement age, as may be prescribed in regulations, the public officer shall retire from the service with effect from the date of attaining the mandatory retirement age, and the Commission or other appointing authority shall not extend the service of such retired public officer beyond the mandatory retirement age. Honorable Speaker, whereas the foregoing provisions bind all commissions and appointing authorities without exception, the Teacher Service Commission is on record as having irregularly extended the engagement in employment of quite a number of head teachers beyond their mandatory retirement age. This action is not only unlawful, but is also limiting career advancement within the teaching service, but also has a ripple effect of limiting creation of employment opportunities for thousands of qualified and eligible teachers who have legitimate expectation to rise through the ranks or be freshly recruited into the service upon occurrence of vacancies, including those arising from retirement. Honorable Speaker, it is on the basis of this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Education and Research on the following. 1. What justification does the Teacher Service Commission have to irregularly contract certain head teachers beyond their mandatory retirement age of 60 years or 65 years in the case of PWDs, contrary to the provisions of Section 79 and 80 of the Public Service Commission Act and Regulation 70 of the Public Service Commission Regulations 2020 relating to retirement. 2. Could the chairperson provide the total numbers and details of the head teachers whom the TSC has engaged beyond retirement age, including the affected schools, funding for the post-retirement remuneration, and whether such teachers are entitled to pension or gratuity for their post-retirement engagement. 3. What elaborate measures has the Teacher Service Commission put in place to ensure that it complies with the statutory provisions relating to retirement and guarantees seamless transition in the headship of schools, particularly national and extra-county schools, upon retirement of head teachers? And 4, Honorable Speaker, what immediate action is the Teacher Service Commission taking to reverse the irregular trend of extending employment of head teachers beyond retirement in order to create adequate and equal opportunities for appointment, advancement, and fresh employment within the teaching fraternity as envisaged in Article 232 of the Constitution? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The chairperson, Departmental Committee on Education. With the person raising up their hand, what is Honorable Lesonet? You don't look like the chair of education who is a lady. But maybe you have something, you're holding brief.
No, Mr. Speaker, I just thought I could also request make a supplementary comment on the issue raised by.
Where did you learn that from?
From Socion, Mr. Speaker. We are just saying.
If you learn from the Honorable Socion, then.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
No,
Mr. Speaker, you know.
No supplementary. No, here we follow the rules. Eh? Certainly.
I understand, Mr. Speaker, but you know we just have a short time, Mr. Speaker, to elections.
Don't worry. Don't worry. The rules are meant for both long periods and short time periods. The question is to be directed to that chairperson and the vice. Who is the vice? Both are absent. Well, Honorable Sosion, liaise with the Majority Whip, Honorable Wangwe. The next request is by the member for Mandera East, Honorable Malim Hassan.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Orders 44.2c, I rise to request for a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security regarding occupation of private land by security personnel in Barwaka location, Mandera East constituency. Honorable Speaker, for over 4 years, security personnel comprising of the General Service Unit, Border Police, and Rapid Deployment Units deployed in Mandera County have been occupying private land belonging to individual families in Barwaka location of Mandera East constituency. Due to the nature of their work and location, the county security teams have worked over the years to secure alternative land for the officers. These efforts bore fruit where the county government of Mandera identified and allocated alternative land for the officers. Honorable Speaker, further, the county security team was involved in the identification and allocation of land. In addition, in order to ensure the land currently occupied by the security personnel reverts back to the rightful owners and ensure that the identified alternative land for the officers is suitable for the officers, various institutions, including the county government and the Constituency Development Fund team for Mandera East constituency, allocated resources for purposes of ensuring that the necessary infrastructure was put in place. This includes toilets, water reservoirs, and a protective wall. With all this process being consultative, the county security team gave approval for the alternative land set aside for the security personnel and agreed that the officers relocate to the new site. Honorable Speaker, it is in this background that I seek a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security on the following. 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why national government security officers comprising of the General Service Unit, Border Police Unit, and Rapid Deployment Unit are still occupying and operating from the private land in Barwaka location during their current deployment in Mandera East constituency, thus displacing owners of the land? 2, could the Cabinet Secretary explain when the security officers will relocate to the new site, which has been provided by the county government and necessary infrastructure put in place? Honorable Speaker, it is what perturbs me most, Honorable Speaker, is that the current place where these officers are deployed is in a very deplorable situation where even sanitation and hygiene is wanting. And I'm told, I've made a lot of efforts as a member of parliament for Mandera East to reach to the relevant minister in order to make sure that these officers relocate to the new site. I've been following this issue for the past 5 months, Honorable Speaker, and I'm wondering why the government is, harassing the local people, the owners of this plant, over 300 plot owners are suffering as a result of this occupation. Honorable Speaker, I beg for your indulgence and this House to take this matter seriously so that the people of Mandera can be able to gain their rightful plots. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, that appears like the member for Konoin. Why is your hand up, Honorable Brighton?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm seeking for your guidance. Last year on 30th June 2021, I asked a question to Minister.
But Honorable Brighton, you're going, I've not even given directions about this one. You know?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Can I see who is going to respond? The chairperson, Committee on Administration and National Security. I had been given the impression that the Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu was to stand in for the chairman. Is that correct, Honorable Makali?
Yes, Honorable Speaker. As you are aware, the chairman is part of what is happening somewhere in this country. So he had requested me to step in for him, and I'm honored to do that, Honorable Speaker. So we can respond to any issues relating to our committee. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, but it is telling that the Honorable Omar says that he has expended CDF resources, doing some developments, putting up some infrastructure on that piece of land. And I think the issues he's raising they could easily become complex as the date of 9th of August draws near for him.
Matter and follow. Honorable Speaker will pick the matter as a committee and
very well
give him some feedback as soon as possible, within 2 weeks.
Okay. Honorable Yegon.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I was seeking your guidance because last year, 30th June 2021, I asked a question towards Minister for Labor and Social Protection. The minister, it was concerning issue of multinational companies who were actually introducing machines. And I was asking, what is the minister doing in order to balance between mechanization, profit, and employment, Mr. Speaker? The question was not answered adequately. And the CS had promised to go and do further research and do consultation before coming back with an appropriate answer. To date, Mr. Speaker, I have not gotten an adequate and an appropriate answer to that question.
Honorable Yegon, you say 30th of June?
Yes.
And you are also guilty, aren't you? Because 30th of June, surely, you ought to have complained and raised that matter much earlier.
I'd raised the matter with the committee, the chairman for the committee, and he told me that they were still waiting for the response from the relevant CS. But today they have not yet, and that's why I was raising on and seeking your guidance on the same.
But now again, looking into the chamber, I don't see the chairman present. So why don't you raise this issue? It should be raised when the chairman is present, so that he takes up the matter. Honorable Yegon, don't wait. Just check one of the days when we see the chairman here, because most chairmen these days, I don't know, they have absconded duty.
Maybe they are in Sagana, Mr. Speaker. But I will surely raise when the chair.
Even if we say you raise it now, the whip is not good. The whip will have to talk to raise it. It's good to raise it here in the plenary when the chairman is present.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Very well. Then part B, of this segment is on responses. And the first response is to a request made by the member for Kilifi North, Honorable Owen Bayer. And the response is coming from the chairman of the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing, the Honorable Kosing. I see him in the chamber.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I also thank my colleague, Honorable Owen Bayer. I have two statements, Honorable Speaker. One by Honorable Bayer and another one by Dagoretti South, who is not
Yes.
here, but let me handle first of all this one, Honorable Bayer.
Both the responses are by you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me start with the Honorable Bayer, of which if by then, when I finish, if Honorable Dagoretti is not here, then I'll put on the table of the House. But first, Honorable Bayer, Honorable Speaker, sought a statement, very good statement, about Malindi Airport. And he asked about three things. One, which he wanted to know is, within which timelines shall the Ministry of Transport take over the land that was compulsorily acquired for expansion of Malindi Airport and duly compensate the affected people there, Honorable Speaker? The answer, Honorable Speaker, is this one is not, the date of taking over is not in or known, Honorable Speaker. The reason being, there is a problem in that land, and Honorable Bayer, you need to know this. There's a problem. When when National Land Commission did survey there, they realized that the people whose names are on the title deeds are not actually on the ground themselves. There's a big problem there, Honorable Bayer, and therefore makes it very difficult to compensate anybody. Number two, so what's happening? The ministry is saying, however, the completion of the land compensation process will be subject to, again, availability of funds. So you have two problems, Honorable Bayer, there in Malindi. That is your first request. Number two, Honorable Speaker, he wanted also to know within which timelines shall the ministry upgrade the airport to passport control standards to allow, Honorable Speaker, international flights to fly directly to Malindi. Very good request. However, Honorable Speaker, the response which is here, which is the truth, is there's no problem with the airport. It can allow even passport clearance. The problem, Honorable Speaker, is the length of the airport. It cannot allow the bigger planes. And therefore, then you cannot have direct planes from outside the country going direct to Malindi. And Honorable Speaker, Honorable Bayer had an interest of Alitalia and Ethiopian Airlines. Those are big planes, Honorable Speaker, that cannot land in Malindi with the current runway. So unless then we sort out that issue of persons owning land in a confused manner, and we compensate them, then we get the length of the runway. And that's the problem. So the international planes cannot land in Malindi, Honorable Speaker, and to Honorable Bayer. Finally, Honorable Bayer wanted also to know within which timelines shall the ministry allow Ethiopian Airlines, Alitalia, and other international airlines to fly direct to Malindi Airport. And the same answer is what I've said, Honorable Speaker. There's no problem allowing them, but there is no runway that will accommodate them. That is for Honorable Bayer, Honorable Speaker. So if you allow me, because I don't see Honorable Dagoretti, my colleague from Dagoretti, he had also wanted to know, Honorable Speaker, which I'm responding to, he wanted to know roads in his constituency, and specifically, Honorable Speaker, roads which are meant for informal sector. So he wanted to know three things. One, could the chairperson provide the status of the roads project in the Dagoretti South constituency prioritized by the ministry for upgrade to bitumen or cabro? I have provided a very long list, Honorable Speaker, for his perusal and review. Number two, he wanted also to know what is the timelines for the completion of the said roads project. In the list which I have provided, Honorable Speaker, the roads are complete, Honorable Speaker. And finally, he wanted also to know what measures are in place to ensure quality of the roads constructed. The answer to that, Honorable Speaker, is that for the urban roads, the ministry is saying they have Kura, which is in charge of the urban roads, and therefore that is their measure to make sure that the roads are done to the quality. And if they are not quality, Honorable Speaker, that it is Kura that will be able to take interventions, Honorable Speaker. And if you allow me, because it's not there, I want to lay. Oh, yes, it's already here, Honorable Speaker. And those are the answers for the statement, Honorable Speaker, and I thank you for the chance you have given me. Thank you, Honorable Kiari.
Honorable Baya.
Yes, I thank you, Speaker, and I would like to thank my colleague, the chairperson, for the responses. But I would like also to note, Mr. Speaker, that the information given may not really suffice in terms of answering the response that I sought. Because the land question, I'll start with the land question. The land question, the National Lands Commission in 2017 issued a notice to acquire the land. And one of the requirements in the notice that further development of the land should stop until the process of compensating these people is finalized. That's what they said. And when they went to do such, they realized that the land, there are two pieces of land, one that belongs to individuals and one that belongs to the Kenya Ports Authority. And what they did is they compensated the people on the land for Kenya Ports Authority on the structures, the buildings that were there, which is actually all right. But they said the land does not belong to the people. So they compensated them on the structures, and which we have actually no problem, and compensation was done. And I think they are continuing to do that compensation on the KPA land. The other land belongs to the occupants of those, the occupants of those who are already there, the people occupying the land. So what they did is to tell them, no, don't put any other structure, because we shall come and buy the land, we shall acquire it compulsorily, and therefore we will make payment. So they stopped the people, around 1,800 families, who are on their land. They cannot do any expansion, they cannot do anything on the land, because they are still waiting for payment from 2017 to date. Recently, I think in 2019, they sent surveyors there who did the picking and everything, with a promise that they will pay. But what you hear here is that there's no budgetary allocation, because I have a statement from the minister. It was forwarded to me, and it says there is no budgetary allocation from 2017 until today. NLC wants to pay, but they cannot pay because there's no budgetary allocation. There has been in this house over four budgets that we have gone through. Money allocated for compensation, money allocated for the Ministry of Transport, but they have never considered the people of Kilifi on this matter, but they have considered other matters, and other people have been compensated. And that's what we are saying. It is really unfair. The people have lived on their land, they cannot do anything, they cannot sell their plots, they cannot develop, they cannot build a house, they cannot even dig a toilet on that land, because the land, it has been compulsorily acquired. But where is their payment? Where is their payment? That is the question. That's why I asked, within which timelines? What we are looking at is government to commit itself to say, by 2025, even if they say that, we will have paid these people. Or by 2022, we will have paid these people. Recently, the PS went on record to say they'll pay them in January 2022. It's now February going to March. They've not had anything. They only made a press statement. So the issue of land is painful to the people that live near the airport, because there's nothing else they can do. And it is unfair to these people, and they feel discriminated by this government, because other projects that have started this year have been compensated, they have been paid. Mr. Speaker, the second question is on the airport. The Malindi Airport is key to the tourism sector in the North Coast. It's very key. Today, if you walk in Malindi town, it is a dead town. But one of the reasons is we are losing the tourism market in Malindi because of destinations such as Zanzibar, Mauritius, Seychelles, because the airports are closer to the hotels or to the residents. This government knows that the key to unlocking tourism in Malindi is the airport, and that's why they started the acquisition process to expand the airport to international standards. But they have not done that. And whatever they're talking about the runway, Mr. Speaker, it will surprise you that the runway that they're talking about is 1.05 kilometers. That is what they need to do, to just build a runway 1.05 kilometers, and the land to build that runway is available. The resources required are not huge amounts, but when you walk into this town of Nairobi, you see huge, huge projects that are being done. But since 2017, they cannot just allocate some little money to expand the airport in Malindi. So airlines like Air Italia, Ethiopian Airlines cannot land in that airport because of the lack of the runway, something that can be done within a very, very short time. The people of Malindi feel that they're not being treated fairly. We have lost jobs, we have lost business, we have lost many things because tourism is on the flip side, is going down. Mr. Speaker, I would like to look at what I asked. I asked within which timelines can they complete the process of upgrading this airport. Today, commercial flights cannot land in Malindi. The international commercial flights cannot land. Even Kenya Airways itself cannot land in Malindi. You only have Jumbo Jet that can land there. Why? Because of the inadequacy of the airport. But the land is there to do all this matter. The only problem is nobody wants to allocate money. The people of Kilifi, the people of Malindi feel slighted and not recognized by this government. Mr. Speaker, I would like to end and say this. Availability of budget should not be used as a reason to discriminate against other Kenyans. This House makes budget, and we receive budget from proposals. What is the problem of allocating the 5 billion that was talked about in 2017 to date? President Kibaki wanted to do this, and unfortunately he left. But we had an elaborate program then. Why can the people of Kilifi be given the opportunity to have an airport? We have a huge airport that was built in Isiolo, and I do not begrudge them or say anything else, but treat the people of Coast fairly. This government needs to do that, and I still request, Mr. Speaker, that I be told, or this House be told, within which timelines this matter will be done so that we complete the issue of the airport in Malindi. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Wendbaya, you know, we just about to begin discussing the budget policy statement. There will be estimates. You are a very active member of this House. You look at the budget for the Ministry of Transport and make the necessary proposals to amend, and the high proposal made that take it to the Kenya Airports Authority to develop that. I mean, that's what this House, you have put a very compelling case, a very compelling case, very well put. But now, I'm sure, if when you're looking at the estimates, you propose to shift certain funds from that ministry to go to KEA for purposes of doing this, I'm sure your colleagues here will agree with you. You can see the Honorable Sankok was almost flying as he was coming in when he heard how eloquently you are putting the case. So I'm sure, so that we don't, let's also not keep lamenting. When the time comes, please, and you can see the Honorable Kosing is not even averse to your proposal. Honorable Kosing.
I agree with my colleague, Honorable Bayer, and I agree with you, Honorable Speaker, entirely that he prosecuted the matter very eloquently and with passion. Of course, you know, we have only 6 months to the year of judgment, or the month of judgment, and therefore we do. Honorable Speaker, I have nothing actually to add. Only I will advise him on 2 things. One, when we looked at that issue earlier, Speaker, the land, the acquisition of land in that area is, I think, one of the most expensive things, which I think, this is my own opinion, which is not coming out. The land is very expensive, Honorable Speaker. Even to acquire land is more expensive than building the airport itself. So there was even, I had even proposed that, what about if there is a relook, an entire relook of the entire area, where we can actually get even more land, cheaper, that we can develop a proper airport. I think, Honorable Speaker, I want to add my colleague, Honorable Bayer, that let them go back, Honorable Speaker, as a county and confront this issue of land in terms of payment. And finally, Honorable Speaker, if Honorable Bayer can also indulge, I might, Honorable Speaker, with permission, bring the Minister and the Kenya Land Commission and Honorable Baya to appear before the committee so that now there is some kind of negotiation and agreement so that Honorable Baya and the leadership of Malindi can actually appreciate there is a problem in this country in terms of land, Honorable Speaker. How can land become expensive than actually developing an airport? So where do we go? Do we acquire the land and then you miss the money to develop the airport? I think, Honorable Speaker, that can be reasoned as people. If you give us permission, then the leadership, not only Honorable Baya, the leadership of Malindi can come before the committee to meet the minister and the Kenya National Land Commission so that we can agree, Honorable Speaker, even if it means that they relocate the airport to where there is a cheaper land, that we can use the same 5 billion to be able even to build the best airport that can come in Malindi, Honorable Speaker. There's a problem in that land in terms of payment and prices.
Honorable Kiarie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to respond to this response by the Chair. And Chair, I'd like to thank the Chair first for taking up this issue with the Ministry and also for expediting the same because I'd indicated that time was of essence. Chair, there are 3 questions I had asked. There is an attempt to answer 1 question, a total failure to answer 2 questions, Chair. And even in this 1 question that has been answered, there is grave inconsistency and contradictions in the response that we are getting. Speaker, I had asked about the quality of the works that is being done. The works that are being done are special roads that are being brought to Cabro standards. But Mr. Speaker, on the issue of quality, and I wish Chairman would note this, we were asking about the standards that are given for road construction. For example, one cannot lay Cabro paving on top of clay soil, for example, which has been happening in Dagoretti, Mr. Speaker, to a point where some roads that are not even 3 months old are already falling off, Mr. Speaker. And as you know, if one Cabro stone falls out of place, everything on that road falls out of place. That was the question on the quality. Mr. Speaker, I had asked about timelines. Now, in the response that we are getting, we are being told that because I had asked about very specific roads, I had asked about Wambiri Road and Daniel Komboni roads in Gando Ward. And we are being told, Mr. Speaker, that Wambiri and Daniel Komboni roads are scheduled for improvement under the ongoing project for the construction of Rhino Park and other roads in Nairobi. The response is saying that there are some very important roads being done in Karen. And Dagoretti will have to wait until the contractor who is in Karen completes the work in Karen so that he can come and start the work on Wambiri Road and Daniel Komboni. Mr. Speaker, the story about Wambiri and Daniel Komboni has been with us for over 4 years now. The story that we were told about Rhino Park Road in Karen, I was told that when I was elected as Member of Parliament in my first meeting with Kura, no less the DG himself, Mr. Kinoti, told me that they are waiting for this contractor to complete works in Karen, and I wish, Chair, with your permission, I would get the attention of the Chair so that he can take the notes that he needs to take on this. Mr. Speaker, we have been waiting for 4 years for this contractor to be done in Karen so that he can come and work in Dagoretti South, Mr. Speaker. I had asked very specific questions about Mbereri Road and Wairimo Road. Mr. Speaker, the contradiction here is that in this response, the chairman is saying that the roads in Dagoretti South constituency which were targeted for improvement under this under this contract are all complete. This is according to the chair. However, the same report responding to the question is saying that as concerns Mbereri Road and Wairimo roads, there was a contractor installing sewage lines along the 2 roads, and no road works can be done until these sewerage lines are complete. The same is being said about the Jerusalem Road, talking about a limited corridor. So, Mr. Speaker, how is it that all the work is complete and done, However, they were not able to do Wairimo Road and Mbereri Road because there was sewerage work going on there. And Mr. Speaker, the facts on the ground are that sewerage works were happening over a year ago. They were completed while the contractor was still on site doing this work. The contractor never came back to Mbereri Road, neither did they go back to Wairimo Road. However, this report is saying that all the work that they were to do is complete. Mr. Speaker, the response that I'm getting has some timelines. These timelines are actually giving it up to the 8th of April for the completion of the special projects. Now, the report is saying that the project is all complete. I am here to tell the chairman that what he got from the ministry is at best a white lie, at worst deception. Mr. Speaker, Wambiri Road, Daniel Komboni, has been 4 years of false promises from Kura and from the ministry. No work has begun. In fact, the remedial work that is being done on Wambiri Road as we speak today, as we wait for this work to get done after Rhino Park, the work that is being done right now is actually NMS work, which is just remedial work. We are still waiting for the work as promised on Daniel Komboni and Wambiri Road. On these two roads, Wairimo and Bereri, it is a lie. There is no sewerage work going on. If there was any sewerage work, it was done over a year ago. And so, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I would wish to return this response to the sender, to the chairman, who should return it to the sender so that the sender can actually answer the 3 questions as they were asked, Mr. Speaker. Whether there is anyone looking at the status and quality of the roads, whether these 4 roads that I mentioned specifically are going to get worked on, and when they will get worked on. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
The Honorable was saying, I think you could summon those people, isn't it?
Yeah, Speaker, I will work under your direction. But I think you mentioned, you guided this House, Honorable Speaker, that maybe close to the sunset of the House that we need to amend our standing orders. This could be part of the things that we need to look at, the Speaker. The choice of how you want a response to be done. Is it a petition? Is it a statement? Is it a question? Speaker, if you look at our standing orders and our practice, it is questions that attract more of interaction. It's not a statement. My colleague, Honorable KJ, is saying, by the chairman, it's not me. I'm only conveying, Honorable Speaker. So I think, I agree with you, Honorable Speaker, and your wisdom, that maybe we need to relook at our standing orders, so that even if it means that honorable members have taken the route of seeking for statement, that before the statement actually is placed on the floor of the House, there should be a mechanism of interaction, Honorable Speaker, if we have not amended our Constitution, which we desired as BBI proponents, which we decided, Honorable Speaker, but some people somewhere decided not to, for now. Speaker, that even if it's like that we don't have ministers here, that in our standing orders we provide that before statement is processed, that there should be an interaction between the honorable member and also the person who is bringing this statement, Honorable Speaker. Otherwise, Honorable Bayo would have been comfortable, Honorable KJ have been comfortable. What am I supposed to do now, Honorable Speaker? There's nothing I can do. I can ask them to again redo the statement. Then I can take back the ministry. Then I'll bring back to you, Honorable Speaker. Or they do it in form of a question. Then a question, when you give me, Honorable Speaker, I bring the minister and an Honorable KJ. They can now be able to interact under my adjudication, Honorable Speaker, on your behalf.
Absolutely correct. The Honorable Kerry has said that he wants to give you back the statement so that you RTS it. You return to sender. And I'm sure the Honorable Kosing has no big problem doing exactly that, because he will still have discharged his obligation to return it to sender. So, Honorable KJ, I think you would do better in this kind of situation if you actually asked a question. Because as I want to agree with the Honorable Kosing, had you asked a question, those things that they have now put in there, you would be there asking them questions about, I don't know, Ambiri, I don't know what road, yeah? Yeah, all those roads. But now, the Honorable Kosing has no idea even where that Wambiri is. So he has been given a statement to come and read. Now you tell him, no, this one, I don't know, is not done. There's no sewage work happening. He has no knowledge of that. But you know, if you are asking officers from the Kenya Urban Roads Authority, you would be challenging them. And if they insist, all you need to do is to apply to the chair to visit, the committee to visit the place in the presence of those people. You go and shame them. Once that happens, then we begin the other process of dealing with them, taking disciplinary action for coming to tell lies before a committee of parliament. But now this one, so you give it back to the Honorable Kosing for the purposes as you stated to RTS. Yeah, Honorable Kiari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I actually have no contestation against what the chairman has brought here. I was just furnishing him with the details that, in fact, even in the form that it is in, as a statement, there were very specific questions that I asked, 3 of them, and 2 of them have not been responded to, and the one that has been responded to is actually not factual, even in the plain reading of it. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, this response says that all roads that were under this contract are complete. But the same response.
But now, who is going to? Who can actually?
Mr. Speaker, that's what I was coming to. I was coming to that. That I was even very agreeable to one of the suggestions that you had made and also alluded to by the chairman, that if these Kura people could actually appear before the committee so that we tempt them to task on these specificities. Mr. Speaker, it is in the public domain that some of us are having very difficult time in some of these agencies. There are officers who will not see or look at you when you enter into these offices because they assume, for example, that you belong to a certain political leaning or such a matter. So, Mr. Speaker, if it would be in order, it would be agreeable to me if the committee could actually summon Kura to appear before the committee, and I will make myself available so that we can have this exchange, so that I share the details that I have.
Is the chairman amenable to that?
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Kosing.
I have no problem, Honorable Speaker, with your direction. However, he would have done a question.
Yeah.
Let him just do a question.
Yes, do a question because.
Yes.
Now you have already you chose the route of a statement, and you have been given the response. Now whatever is happening now, the mazungumzo badala ya habari.
Absolutely.
Ngumzo mtaani.
Because, Honorable Speaker, I agree with you 100%. I want to help my colleague, Honorable Kiaria. He's been here for 4 years. He must have understood how these things are happening now, and he's likely to come back. And it depends on the people of Dagoretti. But, Speaker, I cannot take the same statement back for a response, a proper response. It will not work. So he has to do a statement, a question, comes to Parliament, send to them, give them to 3 or 2 days. 1 week, they go there, then they come and exactly the route you have suggested, Speaker, works. He comes there, the committee can visit. Honorable Kiaria should use some of these instruments that are available, and particularly your guidance, Speaker. Honorable Kiaria should listen to that guidance.
Very well. We move to the next order.
Order number 8, motion, report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Sustainable Waste Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 22 of 2021, question to be put and 3rd reading.
Could the member, this member, is this the Honorable Mbui? Order now. Let us transact this business. We clear it. As we may have heard, and as the order was read out, business on this motion, order number 8, was considered in committee of the whole House but question could not be put for agreement and or disagreement. So I therefore put the question that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Sustainable Waste Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 22 of 2021. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Yeah, proceed. Over.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Sustainable Waste Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 22 of 2021, be now read at that time. I also request Honorable Sankok to second.
Honorable Sankok.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I do second.
Can we finish this? Honorable Member for Seme, can we clear this one? Or you have? Okay, very well. Honourable members, I propose a question, which is that the Sustainable Waste Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 22 of 2021, be now read at that time. No desire to debate, so I therefore put the question, which is that the Sustainable Waste Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 22 of 2021, be now read a third time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to establish the legal and institutional framework for the sustainable management of waste, ensure the realization of the constitutional provision on the right to a clean and healthy environment and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 9, Committee of the Whole House.
Order, members. We are now in Committee of the Whole House to consider the Copyright Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2021.
Clause 3.
So we have proposed amendments on Clause 3. And I propose a question that Clause 3 be part of the bill. And the mover, the chairperson, Committee on ICT. Is the chair here? Honorable Nyamita, the vice chair, right?
Thank you, Chair. I'm proposing to move a further amendment to Clause 3 that the committee's stage, and that by inserting immediately after.
Honorable Nyamita, you should be moving the first amendment.
Okay.
The further amendment comes later.
Oh, very well.
So you move the first one.
So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, the proposed amendment seek to make a correct cross-referencing, or clause 3, to seek, sorry, I was a bit confused. The proposed amendments seek to make a cross-reference to the previous provision seeking to establish a national rights registry arising from the proposed amendment to clause 4 of the bill. Further, it corrects a typographical error and provides for the definition of artist.
Honorable Nyamita? No, there is nothing out of order.
We just move. Okay.
You
Chair,
move it as it is in the order paper.
Very well. Madam Chair, I beg to move that clause 3 be as provided for in the order paper. My apologies for the confusion.
No problem, Honorable Nyamita. Take your time. I know it could be your maiden presentation as a vice chair, so it's allowed. Go ahead.
That the bill be amended by deleting clause 3 and subsisting therefore the following new clause. The Principal Act is amended by inserting the following new section immediately after section 30B. And it relates to the payment of the ringback tone, not tune, it's supposed to be ringback tone revenue, without prejudice to section 30B. In the case of the ringback tones, the parties, and Madam Chair, if you allow, we will maybe do some.
Honorable Nyamita, maybe you can come over here to have a word with the clerk, just for some guidance. No, Honorable Sankok, there's nothing out of order. Just be patient with the chair. You see, Honorable Sankok, I have only proposed, so the only time you can interject is once he has already moved, so that you will talk about whatever you want to say at the point of contributing. I'll make sure to give you a minute to contribute to it. Just hold your thought. Go on, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I think I just had a slightly different document. But now I beg to move that clause 3 be as is stipulated in the order paper. And the justification for this, Honorable Chair, is that the proposed amendment seeks to amend the proposed new section 30C to provide for sharing of the net revenue from sales from the ringback tones, to change the percentages to add up to 100%. Further, Chair, the proposed amendment seeks to address the subsisting contracts between the artists or owners of the copyright and the premium rate service providers. Thank you.
All right, I propose the question, which is that clause 3 be amended as proposed by Honorable Nyamita. Yes, Honorable Sankok.
Thank you very much, Chair. But as I rise to support, and I had actually stood first of all on a point of order, and the Vice Chair need to be guided properly, because even in that moving, you have not moved as it is supposed to be. And you know, these things go to the handset. And I think this is a problem of this handshake that brought chairs and vice chairs that sometimes are not even qualified. So I'm telling you, Honorable Speaker, we
out
really
of order,
need,
Honorable Sankok.
So, but I support.
Okay, you support. Honorable Wanga?
I don't know why Honorable Sankok is speaking in Masai, but Honorable Chair, I rise to support this amendment by the committee. What the committee is doing is only putting more clarity in the proposals that were made in the bill, and this now ensures that net of taxes And I think it should be net of taxes rather than just net revenue. It should only be net of taxes. So net of taxes, the premium rate service provider will now get 8.5% of, Madam Chair, the ringback tone on your phone or any other phone is now 1 shilling and 50 cents. So 8.5% will go to the person providing the service. 39.5% will go to the telecommunications provider, whether it's Safaricom or Airtel or any other. But the most important thing that the committee, I agree with them, is the artist or the owner of the copyright now gets 52%, which should be the rightful position. Instead of these other administrative issues taking up majority of the money, the artist now gets majority of the money. And that is the most significant change. And I want to thank the committee because this is really, really significant. It will make a big difference for the artist. My only issue is with that net revenue, because it could be net of something else. It should just be net of taxes, because if it says net, they can remove anything else and then say this is the net. So the committee should look at that, and maybe the chair can consider moving a further amendment so that it is net of taxes, not just net, because net, they can net out everything, and then now what remains is so small, and they said this is the net we were talking about. So it should just be net of taxes. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Wanga, I thought maybe you would be the one to... Anyway, but let's see what the chair says. He could consider...
I was just requesting the chair.
A further amendment.
Yes, I was requesting the chair. It is neater if the chair can agree to move a further amendment.
Yes, Chair. Honorable Sankok, you are totally out of order.
Chair.
You are interfering with the chair.
Maybe just to give some clarity to what Honorable Wanga is saying, we'd actually included net of taxes, but our legal team did say that when you say net revenue in law, it actually just means net of taxes. But if that clarity is needed, I don't think there is any harm, because it means the same thing that we want to achieve, that is net of taxes. That's fine. And Madam Chair, you'd also allow me just to remind my colleague, Honorable Sankok, that I'm actually more educated than himself. I completed my university unlike him.
It's all right, Honorable Nyamita.
Just for clarity, so that we have boundaries.
You are okay, Chair. Just ignore Honorable Sankok. Now, Honorable Chair, you may need to do further consultations with the legal team and Honorable Wanga, so that you can come to some conclusion on how you want it. I can see, is the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro desirous of contributing?
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. And whereas I support the amendment, I think it is important for us to be clear in terms of the taxes. But generally, Madam Chair, you know, the current scenario, the status quo, actually is differentiating to the real people, because the real people in the entire industry and the productive people are the artists. Unfortunately, the facilitative people, or the process, is the one that takes up the big bulk of the money, Madam Speaker, that is available to be shared. This is the only industry where brokers actually get more than the actual productive side of the entire chain. And therefore, I support our artists on this, and actually 52% is low. We should be talking about over 80%. Because across the entire industry, even agriculture or any other, there is no other that facilitation or the facilitative side takes up 42% of the, or 48% of what is available to be shared. But so far so good, Madam Speaker, though our artists actually deserve more.
Honorable Chair, have you agreed on something?
Yes, we have, and we will do a further amendment to specify net of taxes, so the net revenue is not confused in interpretation, so that it includes net of taxes.
Very well.
So if you'll allow, the amendment is actually coming. We'll have it as net of taxes for purposes of the Hansard, yeah.
Okay, so I think we can proceed and come back to it. Now, there being no further, Honorable Gishimu?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise to support the amendment because this will greatly help our artists. Actually, they've been exploited for too long, and the arrangements that have been existing before have never been formalized into law. And I think this is a good thing. It's towards the right direction, and I support.
Honorable Sankok, I hear you saying you want to do a further amendment. Kindly consult with the chair if you might want to consolidate whatever you have. So that, yes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. It is good that it will go to the answer. Now that we are doing a further amendment on describing the taxes and revenue, can we do a further amendment so that we have 70% going to the artists and up it from 52%, or at least maybe 60%? Can we, now that we are doing a further amendment in that? That is the only thing I wanted to ask, Madam Chair. Is it possible?
I think maybe you're preempting an amendment that's coming from the Honorable Kiari. So let's wait and see. Then it might take care of your concerns. Honorable Wangwe? And then maybe we can close it.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as we were waiting maybe for the drafter to draft the amendment, I was just thinking that this being a house of records, we expunge the Maasai language that Honorable Sangok used when we were discussing in between, so that we have a clean record of what we are debating. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Wangwe, please come again. I didn't hear what you said.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was saying, given that this is a house of records, and the Honorable Sangok interjected in between and talked Maasai language, which is not understood, maybe to the majority. For the purpose of the record, you can order that we clean up what he interjected in between, so that we have a seamless flow of communication.
I'm not even sure he was speaking in Maasai. It's some strange language. Honorable Sankok, it's either Swahili or sign language or English. No. Stick to the parliamentary language. Okay, I think with that, I proceed to put the question, which is that clause 3 be amended as proposed by the Vice Chair. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to put the question. Let's move to the Honorable Kiari. You can now move your amendment.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I do rise to move that clause 3 be amended, the clause 3 of the bill be amended in the proposed new clause 30C in paragraph C by inserting the words not less than immediately after the word art. Madam Speaker, the justification for this is that there is a very good proposal by the Honorable Gladys Wanga. And the opportunity that she has given us is a good opportunity to tidy up this copyright bill. Madam Speaker, eventually, we will end up doing an entire new copyright bill. Because even listening to what the interjections that are being made by members of parliament on issues of royalty, it means that there is work that needs to be done in terms of definitions of these copyright holders, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we can put great effort in putting royalties up. However, when you study copyrights, you will realize a few things. One is that copyright is actually a negotiated affair. For example, there are artists, as we speak today, who already have commitments with the people who we are asking to up these royalties. Being a negotiated thing, we have to be very careful how we approach it. Secondly, Madam Speaker, is that at times the right holder is not the artist. There are people who, and I heard even the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro referring to copyright holders as the artists. There are instances where the artist is not even the copyright holder. So, Madam Speaker, my attempt is, because we are giving an absolute figure, which we are putting in a substantive law, I thought it would be good to take the advantage of the opportunity given by the Honorable Gladys Wanga, so that the figure we put there is not an absolute figure, we put it as not less than. So that if it is 52% today, it can be upped even to 70, depending on how this is negotiated. So, Madam Speaker, I do wish to move that clause 3 of the bill be amended in the proposed new clause 30C in paragraph C by inserting the words not less than immediately after the word at, so that any copyright holder can actually approach a CBO or the paying party so that they can negotiate even for much better rates than what has been proposed in the Gladys Wanga amendment. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
All right, I go on to propose a question, which is that clause 3 be further amended as proposed by the Honorable Kiarie. Honorable Mutunga.
Chair, I would like to support what Honorable Kenjei is saying for the following reasons. Number one, in a negotiation, there is need for flexibility. If we don't build in the room for flexibility, we shall have a problem in negotiations. And secondly, it is a negotiated deal based on the amount of work to be done. If the work to be done is not a lot, then the owner of the copyright ends up losing when they could have negotiated maybe 70, 80% of the value of the product. So, Honorable Chair, I think it is important for us to include those ones.
Honorable Loundo.
Chair, I stand to support the amendment by the Honorable Kiarie, because essentially, as Dr. Mtunga has put it, when you go to a negotiating table, you must be allowed to extract the best out of it. And looking at the arrangement of the share, we still have enough room, because we are talking about 7%, 16%, we could still have much more, and probably not less than, so it seems a bit more progressive and can give room for further negotiation. Thank you.
Honorable Sankok.
Thank you very much, Chair. And earlier, you said that Honorable Kiarie proposal amendment will cure, and actually it have cured. So I support very much, because as they go to the negotiation table, you will find that somebody else's art may not be as good as the other one. We have songs that we say this one is a hit song. It is it may earn the artist more. So when you put at 52 just as a figure, then you limit those who can negotiate for more. And the trend, even in our constitution, is that we send to the counties not less than 15%. So the trend is normally not less than, because we want to protect the artists, we just say not less than 52%. If the artist can negotiate for 98%, well and good, because sometimes their song is better or their art is better than any other, and they cannot all be uniform. So I support 100%.
Honorable Osotsi.
Madam Speaker, I want to differ with my friend John Kiari on the basis from a technical point of view. You know, this, the work of the artist is being maintained on a platform. For example, Safaricom platform. There is a running cost of maintaining that technology and the infrastructure. So when we talk about 52%, at least 52%, I think that will be a problem. I think I agree with the amendments by the committee and the Honorable Wanga, but when we put the word at least, then you get to a point where even the providers of that service, they get to a point where they say, okay, if we are not making revenue, we altogether do away with this infrastructure. So we need to be very careful so that we don't bring a legislation that is going to kill businesses. So for me, I do not want to agree with the Honorable Kiari on that basis, that this particular platform is maintained by either Airtel or Safaricom. They have employed people, they have an infrastructure, and they have running costs. Will those costs be covered if we increase the share to 70% or 80%? So, and that's the bigger picture in this. I'm sure the committee was wise in giving 52% because that was based on the presentation by stakeholders. But if you increase it, then you get into major challenges.
Could we have the chair make a clarification? The vice chair, that is.
Chair, thank you. Thank you very much. Just for purposes of clarity, the proposal by Honorable Wanga did set the percentage to the artists at 52%. Of course, indeed, during the public participation, there were issues as to whether we need to prescribe pricing in statute or we wait to do it in regulation. But what Honorable Osotsi is talking about is that when you say 52% of the revenue goes to the artist, but Honorable Kiari is saying not less than 52%. Maybe the thing we need to debate a bit further is, what if that figure for 1 shilling and 50 cents comes lower? Because, you know, the industry as technology advances, I mean, SMSs used to be 10 shillings, today they're 150. When we say not less than, what if that figure eventually comes to 50 cents? Then you say not less than. But either way, even if we leave it at 52%, I don't think that there would be any harm. There wouldn't be any harm in actual sense. So even as it's set out at 52%, it's still just as okay.
Member from Boni.
Thank you, Chair. And on the onset, I need to disagree with Honorable Kiari. Here we are talking of two figures. One is there is the 1 shilling and 50 cents, which translates to 0.78 to the artist or the copyright owner. And when we say not less than on a percentage, these percentages are adding up to 100. When you put not less than, definitely it is going to affect the other two. So this is staying at 100%, and if we have to go to the figures of the shilling, 1.5, then we can put the not less than. But Honorable Wanga is moving on the percentages, which to me have to stay fixed at 52 because they're adding up to 100. Otherwise, mathematically, it will cause a problem.
Honorable Kishimu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the percentages that have been given in the amendments were based on the current circumstances after the committee probably engaged all the stakeholders. But these circumstances are bound to change, Madam Chair. And we cannot limit the artist to whatever has been agreed at this particular time, even if the other figures will be affected, some of these are big wigs like service providers like Safaricom. We should be mindful of the person who is also giving them business to negotiate for more. That is why I'm here, Chair, to support that amendment by Honorable Kiarie, and the artists should be the biggest beneficiaries in all this deal.
Yeah, we actually need to interrogate this. Honorable Ndindi?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I rise to support the amendment by Honorable KJ because, Madam Chair, platform businesses across and tech businesses are subject to something called scale. The more scalable it is, the more profitable it is. And they are subject to something we call increasing returns. That the more you have in terms of the clientele, the more you handle in terms of scale, the more the margin becomes larger. And therefore, the product here we are selling is the product given about by the artist. That is the product. The platform is the one especially owned by the tech companies. Therefore, the more artists we have, that is the scale I'm talking about, the more products we have on their platforms, the more profitable it is. Because some of the costs that are associated with a platform does not change or do not change because there is more products on the platform. And that is how now the margin becomes larger. And therefore, Madam Speaker, to protect our artists and to be real on the what kind of business we are talking about, Madam Speaker, to put less than is better. The other side, Madam Speaker, in terms of arguing the case of tech, commodity business, like agriculture, are subject to something we call decreasing returns. The more you go about the business, or for you to produce the next product, you spend more cost than the previous. But on the platform business, the more you have, the next product that you produce on the platform costs less, Madam Speaker, because most of the costs are static. When you talk about Safaricom, their masks are the same, Madam Speaker. Their CEO is the same. Their employees are more or less the same. And therefore, the more you increase on the platform, does not actually affect their costs in terms of rising. And therefore, Madam Speaker, not putting a static figure is better than putting a moving figure, because scale means more margin. More margin then, Madam Speaker, should be shared among who? Do we leave the entire margin to the platform owner, or that can be distributed so that it is passed actually the talent beneath for them to actually increase more business? I hope I'm making sense. I support.
Honorable members, and I think I'll refer, the member from Boni has raised an issue which the mover of the amendment, Honorable Kiarie, you need to internalize. And then it's with regards to the percentages, because if we say not less than 52, they go beyond 100%.
No, Madam.
So, Honorable Kiarie, let's give Honorable Kiarie to make all of us understand.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I need to reiterate this again, that the artists and copyright holders, after we pass this bill, will have to go back and negotiate contracts. Contracts that carry copyright matters are negotiated, Madam Speaker. What I am attempting to do is give enough leeway for the artists as they go to negotiate to have enough maneuver space within what we are providing. Madam Speaker, remember again, we are putting this in a substantive law, the Mother Act, the copyright law. And we go into a law and put static figures, not even static, an absolute figure, Madam Speaker. And a good example was given by the Honorable Sankok. When it comes to division of revenue, there is a reason why it is put at not less than. When you move the variables, and for example, it is decided that the negotiation came to 53%. Madam Speaker, that money is negotiated depending on the case that is on the table at that point. So much so that in every negotiation, it will not be the artist losing as it has always been. We want to make sure that we are protecting these vulnerable artists against the big telcos that run these platforms, Madam Speaker. And you being a lawyer, Madam Speaker, I know you have worked on contract law, that whenever you are dealing with two parties, your business as the person making the law is to protect the weaker party. In this case, the weaker party is actually the copyright holder who needs protection from some organizations, some of which are multinationals, Madam Speaker, so that even if there will be a negotiation that goes beyond 52%, Madam Speaker, within the variables that add up to 100%, it can be moved around. And again, Madam Speaker, my attempt at not less than is not to increase. I wish the Honorable Nyamita and the Honorable Kivas would hear this, that putting not less than does not mean that you're increasing the amount of 52%. You're actually just giving more maneuver space for the artists as they go to negotiate their copyright dues.
Allow me to give the whip, Honorable Wangwe, and then maybe Chair, I see people still have a lot of interest in it.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
And honorable members, please note that we are not debating. We are in committee. So please just be straight to the point so that we can have other people ventilate on it.
I wish to support the amendment by Honorable Kiarie. The reason being, Honorable Speaker, as it is today, this suggestion of 52 is not there. We are beginning from 0, and we have already negotiated 52 in the bill. Therefore, meaning, Honorable Speaker, if we make a suggestion that not less than, it means the baseline is going to be 52. And we are allowing room for the platform holders vis-a-vis the artists to negotiate for anything more if it's available. What we are simply doing, we are cushioning the artists not to suffer returns on their investment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mabonga.
Madam Speaker, I happen to sit in this ICT committee, and the argument or the amendments that have been brought forward by Honorable Kiarie is something probably that we did not capture during our discussions. And to me, listening to the Honorable Member, this is something that we need to support. Because listening to all these stakeholders who provide the platforms, business, there are people who are capable to manipulate the system and ensure that people who are suffering down there continue to suffer. So whatsoever that Honorable Kiarie is bringing forward, Madam Chair, is just to give room for our local artists that if they have something that has hit the market, they have room for negotiation. I don't find any problem with my colleagues actually accepting this kind of amendment, because we are here to protect our fellow colleagues outside there who are struggling. In business, you cannot make somebody to be static, that he cannot have any room to negotiate for business. We are not increasing. We are only saying this is the baseline, this is where we begin, and if there will be any changes in terms of percentage that will hit up to 100, is something that we can still come back and work on it. But let's protect those ones who are at the lowest, who are suffering at the moment. I support the amendment.
So, Honorable Ndindi, let's have Honorable Wanga first. She has had her hand up for a long time. And then we can put it to the vote. I think we've deliberated on it for quite some time.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add my voice in supporting Honorable KJ, because he raised this matter when we made the presentation to the committee. And I even at that point agreed with him. And the other thing that encouraged me was when Safaricom came, for example, and said, this, technology and the way it evolves in such a way that the prices even get lower as the day goes by. So if the technology prices goes lower, the artist is not tied to 52%. The artist can add to 55, 60 as the technology prices goes lower by the day. So I support Honorable KJ.
Honorable Ndindi.
Chair, maybe to help even the member for Boni and the committee, in terms of adding up to 100%. Now that we are proposing not less than 52%, I think therefore then we need, or the committee needs to look at the semantics on the other end. Instead of leaving static figures, then they can use a language like not more than. In terms of the platform holder, the other 48%, instead of leaving it at 48%, then we can add not more than 48%, so that whatever direction you take, it balances at 100%.
Okay, finally the chair, and then we can.
Chair, I think mathematically there is no challenge with Honorable Kiaria's amendment, because what it refers to is just a figure not less than. And it only allows that then that figure is the one that can be able to move from one point to the others, but whereas the others will remain static. Number two is that the figures we are talking about are net of taxes. So should we have a variation in taxes in subsequent finance bills or any other legislation that comes up across, so I think we can, just so that we can move, we can put it to question and we can carry it. We support Honorable Kiaria.
Honorable members, allow me to put the question, which is that clause 3 be further amended as proposed by the Honorable John Kiaria. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Now let's have the chair moving the other further amendment.
Thank you, Chair. I wish to move a further amendment to clause 3 by just inserting that the telecommunication operator shall directly remit to the artist or owner of the copyright the ringback tone, the net revenue share allocated to them as specified in subsection 1. Honorable Chair, during the submissions, one of the things that actually came up is that